begin this where we left off in part 1. I had just mentioned my near-death experience. And again, I will make a detailed video about that topic. The results of my NDE and DNA upgrade completely changed not only my experience, but surprisingly, the lives of others in my immediate world. It was as if I had popped into another version of myself and my surroundings. It was later explained that within the frequency upgrade during the NDE, I had expanded into a fuller expression of self, a higher variant conjunction of soul. I remember my poetry and writing changed overnight from morose and hopeless to radiant sunrises, flowers, and waterfalls. Life everywhere was changing fast. Some of the things I most personally remember during that time were the eruption of Mount St. Helens, losing the beautiful John Lennon. I remember there was some weird to-do about Pac-Man. Not sure what that was about. I do remember that all my son could talk about back then was the new Star Wars movie, The Empire Strikes Back. I remember the hostage release, and there was a movie actor for president. Oh, I remember the royal wedding and the movie E.T. Also, there was the first artificial heart transplant. That was a big deal. I remember the space shuttle explosion very well. Remember we were watching the new Star Trek series? And among all of this, there was an exceptional planetary alignment in the solar system where 8 planets were significantly aligned, which generated the first world peace meditation. I mean, wow. That was a time that has become known as the harmonic convergence. People all across the world were speaking about spirituality and peace. Nothing like this had ever happened. I remember even Johnny Carson got his entire audience to chant Om. It was wild. Imagine an entire world touched by this unity. It was a time where everyone was talking about it. Peace on earth. It was then that I decided if I was going to hang around here for a while, I was going to do it my way and find a way to live my purpose, my interests, and the drive and yearning to know my higher self. So, like my grandmother before me, I became a student in a school of wisdom where we learned ancient knowledge from an ascended master. And we were put through sometimes grueling tests of focus and endurance. I became so involved with this school life, almost to the point of fanaticism. All I wanted to do or talk about was what I was learning about becoming a master of light and love. I had totally forgotten that this is where I came from. Well, this mysterious transformation was very confusing for my husband. He had married this giggly, perky, flirty girl, and now she's turned into some sort of a hippie granola fanatic. sitting under a tree all day in the lotus position, breathing and chanting. Seriously, he wasn't sure how he should react. Luckily, he was very patient and able to ride the wave until my sanity returned. What a guy. When I left the school, life returned to normal, but with some amazing improvements. I discovered that I could combine a deep spiritual life with the best part of a conventional human way of existence. Our son by then was off into a life of his own, learning and growing. I found a great job teaching marine biology in the same building that my husband worked in. We became immensely close during those years, best friends, and spent as much time together as possible. We would take our breaks together or eat lunch while walking around the estuary or on the beach. We would talk and talk about our families, our jobs, and always the best ways to make the world a better place. We traveled and discovered wonderful shops and restaurants. We attended concerts and the ballet, went camping and took long hikes, cooked meals and canned fruits and vegetables from the garden. We sang and danced and pretty much played our lives away. All we wanted out of life was to be together and have fun. Well, I wish I could say this is what continued for us, but unfortunately, the universe had other plans. A few years later, my husband experienced his own personal walk-in event. As in my own case, this had all been planned before birth. And now it was my turn to face the uncertainty and confusion that sometimes comes with this sort of soul exchange, where the personality undergoes an extensive transformation. However, in my husband's case, he knew exactly who he was and the job he came to do. And he even changed his name to that of the incoming soul. This, for me, was the most difficult experience I had ever known. And the worst of it was that just about the time I got comfortable with the adjustment, he explained that he would be leaving. And his body suddenly became seriously ill. And in what seemed like days, he was gone. At first, I was completely numb. All I could do was cry and beg Source to bring him back. I couldn't believe the universe could be so cruel, to steal away everything that had brought me joy. I was totally convinced that I could not go on living. I bawled and howled so much, my throat was raw. And finally, when I did try to talk, no sound would emerge. It was like my throat would close up anytime I tried to speak, and I would start coughing until I finally had to give up trying. My son was so supportive and loving. Yet nothing could take away the pain I was feeling. One night I was rolling around on the floor in agony, pleading for relief from the suffering. My body was freezing cold, and every joint ached, and my eyes and head burned with pain. Suddenly, I could see a light behind my closed eyes. And moments later, my whole body was bathed in a warm, golden light. I felt so much immediate relief, I didn't move a muscle, afraid it would go away. Then a delicate voice came into my mind. The same voice I had heard during my near-death experience. It was a voice filled with the tender caring of unconditional love, comforting and reassuring me. I felt like I was swimming in warm, liquid love. I had completely lost all sense of where I was. All I knew and felt was that state of pure golden love. As you can imagine, it's really hard to describe this experience. But it's as if the deep agony of grief had opened a sort of divine portal, and something holy had stepped inside. And suddenly I didn't care if I ever spoke again. Everything was internal, inside me. And there was no need for external expression. Like what was inside me was so sacred that if I attempted to articulate it, it would somehow dishonor or tarnish the purity of who and what it was. Over the hours and days that followed, every part of who I had been was altered, made new. Like there was no relevance or recognition of any previous life or character, personality that existed before. Everything was different. What I liked and cared about, enjoyed. From inside, it felt as if I had no choice. I had to be this new self, like being pulled toward truth, as if I were answering a call, a message that had lain dormant within me, awaiting birth. For quite a while, I found it difficult to do anything normal. All I wanted was to lay on the grass and watch the clouds drifting across the blue sky. I was mesmerized by the birds and the insects that buzzed above me. And who was this me, this I, who observed all this? And since this transformation, I had to learn who I was all over again, to find that child, that carefree, angelic ET self at my core, the me who is my essence. I soon began to smile and laugh again, to trust and know that this is all a part of the magic that makes up one life, one human life. The most phenomenal and extraordinary thing to come out of this awakening is beyond anything I ever expected to encounter in this life. Over these remarkable and transformational first weeks, I began sensing a brilliant light presence around me, where I would see a violet light in front of my eyes and would be able to hear internally an intelligence speaking to me, sometimes coming as more than one essence or being. They introduced themselves as a complex collective of what they expressed as companion guides and advisors. At first, the presence was subtle. But as time went on, it was almost like having a conversation with a friend. After hundreds of these dialogues or discussions, they told me that I was what they called a receiver scribe, with an innate ability to receive and transmit knowledge and information from higher densities. They explained that they would soon be asking me to bring through information from themselves and from other extraterrestrial and extra-dimensional beings. And then I would provide this information to certain individuals or to humanity itself. They showed me how to receive and simultaneously write down the incoming information, sometimes word for word. Other times it would come in as large conceptual abstractions that I would then be asked to translate into English. In this case, if I would get stumped on a word, they would bring in the right word or correct the one I was using. They would often wake me up in the middle of the night to transcribe a message. They said that with the collective consciousness sleeping, the field of perception would be clearer and it would be easier for me to pick up and receive their message. This form of reception went on for several years as I transcribed message after message, first on paper and then digitally. After years of handwriting these transcripts, one night they woke me to inform me that I was now being asked to receive and transmit the information verbally and make video recordings of these sessions. Well, for the first several months I did this, I would only record the voice because the mere thought of appearing on camera terrified me. Especially while receiving the information live, I didn't like the idea of giving over my control. And what if they made me look stupid? I have never been interested in being a channel. I was actually quite comfortable in being a scribe, receiving and transcribing the information digitally or on paper, but receiving live on camera? No way. Not gonna happen. It took many more visitations and sleepless nights on my part to convince me to hit the video record button on my computer, sit in front of the camera, and speak their words. Well, the first live camera recording was for a group of star beings who called themselves those from beyond. Oh, I was so nervous before that recording. They purposely didn't give me any warning beforehand so that I wouldn't have any time to freak out. They just told me that when I became aware of their presence, I was to hit the video record button and they would take care of the rest. I mean, I was dressed in sweats. I had no makeup on, didn't even fix my hair. I just wrapped myself up in a warm scarf and lay my laptop on the carpet, plopped down in front of it, hit the record button, and looked down at the floor the entire time. I was petrified. After I felt them leave, I stopped the recording and watched it. Aside from the huge embarrassment of looking so awful, the information was so amazing and beautiful. I cried with emotion to think that I could be a conduit for such incredible knowledge. Well, I didn't know what I was supposed to do with this recording until a few days later when they came through again, informing me that I was to find a video platform in which to upload this recording and those that would follow. They explained that the majority of humans have become stuck in a reincarnational loop, living only lives on Earth, rather than investigating the infinity of other worlds that are out there to explore. They told me that several starseeds, especially those of the first wave, came to Earth as storytellers, and some are now being asked to receive and record onto video stories that would be communicated to the receiver from star beings all over the galaxy and beyond. The stories would be told, expressed through the channel, but by the star being who actually lived it. The reason behind this would be to awaken mankind to the multitude of alternative planets and realms to incarnate into. Over the next few months, they had me repeat the process of sitting in front of the computer, hitting the record button, and allowing the story to come through. They added that after the video was recorded, that I should then transcribe each word and add that text to the finished video. And this would be for those who would prefer to read the narrative rather than just watching the video. They also added that they would be bringing in their own messages from time to time as relevant to the awakening. With each incoming story, my confidence grew until I was finally able to face the camera and speak the story that was coming through me, as if I were the entity telling it. The YouTube channel that I created for these videos is called Cosmic Voices, and I will include a link to that channel below this video. The latest video that was received and posted on that channel was only a few days ago. So after nearly a year of receiving these stories, it was then suggested that I create a second channel where I would tell my own story of being an ET walk-in, living in a human body, and all the delights and challenges that this has brought over the years. Well, I did some pretty deep thinking about what it might mean to out myself on YouTube after holding it in for so long. And the thought of being judged or made fun of or even disbelieved. And what would happen if I was recognized by neighbors and other normal people who thought of me as just being a regular person? After all, I had pretty successfully hidden this part of myself from my ordinary life and really wasn't sure I could do it. It was one thing being the storyteller on Cosmic Voices, but this would be me. The real me, telling about my actual life. Why would I want to do this? Even if I never revealed my name, it would still be me, my face, on screen. So, well, obviously I agreed to do this, the results of which you are watching now. I guess time will tell how my message is received, but I can say that those who have left a comment or a like have touched my heart and given me so much hope that it's possible for me to make a difference somehow. If nothing else, to give you a glimpse of what is happening worldwide as thousands are awakening and trusting to share their truth with others on the planet. This is our story, and we offer it to you with hope and open hearts that it might in some way be of assistance to even just one other person. We're all on this journey together, and supporting and encouraging each other is a part of our mission, our purpose, and reason for being here. To each of you watching, I love you. I am so proud of you for being who you are. You are my sisters and brothers from the stars. Thank you for spending this time with me. Bye now.